Good morning. This is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan. He's a Corgi. And we're here for an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And boy, if I had done this at 7 a.m., you would have seen the snow back there. I have spent 2 very hard days out there doing yard work, things I usually have big, strong guys helping me with, but unfortunately, because of social isolation, distance, quarantine, all of those things, I have to do it myself. So, I don't know, 20 wheelbarrow loads of mulch from the pile across the yard to the gardens, and then the raking back across the entire acre. Luckily it wasn't that bad because I raked it in the fall quite a few times. And then a lot of pruning and cutting back and weeding. It was a lot of work, and I was dead, and that's why I wasn't here yesterday. But in the meantime, my mom, in a conversation with my mom, there were several things that she had seen on the internet that were upsetting to her. And I'm realizing that so many of us are spending extra time on Facebook and, on our computers. And, there's all kinds of different things that we're finding day to day that are not uplifting and that are not good and that might upset us. So I was reminded of this book, Hawaiian prayer, Ho'oponopono. And I did one of my very first Facebook Lives 600 episodes ago on Ho'oponopono, but this is a good time to remember this Hawaiian prayer. It is for forgiveness, and it is, as it says on the cover of this little book, the key to your life's fulfillment. And it certainly is the key to lack of suffering in your life. Which is something Buddha thought that we were all struggling against. So the book is by a guy named Ulrich Dupree, U-L-R-I-C-H, and then D-U-P-R-E-E, with an accent on the first E. And this is a little book. You see how slim it is? There are several books about Ho'oponopono, including one bigger, fatter one, but this is what I think and most of the Tellington T-Touch people believe to be the best one. And it tells the story of Ulrich Dupree being asked to work as a physician in an institution for people with, diagnoses of mental disability that were significant, schizophrenia, etc., and most of them had committed violent crimes. They couldn't keep nurses there, they couldn't keep, doctors there, they couldn't keep anybody in the building. And he said, all right, I'll agree to this job, but I'm not going to meet with the patients. I just want to see their charts. So what he would do using this Hawaiian forgiveness prayer, which is pretty simple, it is, I am sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. He would look at the person's chart, reading the history of that person's life, starting when they were a child, if they were able to give that information. And, some of these people had, for instance, committed a murder. And so what Ulrich did was connect to that person in a very deep way, thinking, I am sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. And as he was doing it, he did more than just meditate. I mean, in T-Touch, we have 4 things that we can use. We have the basic bodywork T-Touches, we have the wraps that you've seen me put on the dogs, we have the confidence course, which is out there. And then the 4th part of T-Touch is intention, and it's so important. So much work by Lynn McTaggart and Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and this little book verify the power of intention. So what Ulrich Dupree was doing was looking at this person's chart, maybe he had murdered someone, and trying to connect with the part of himself that could have felt in a way that would result in him committing murder, as a way to forgive and understand the motivation of that person. Now, sometimes that motivation was coming out of deprivation, like they needed to, commit some crime and, stealing something, money, whatever, and killed a person sort of by accident. But sometimes the voices in their head were telling them to kill someone, and sometimes it was an unintentional brawl that resulted in the death of someone. But he tried to connect with the parts of himself, that deeper understanding, that universal feeling that all of us share in each of the cases, and just kind of find a way to connect with that part of himself. Now, a friend of mine lost her daughter to someone who murdered her daughter when she was in her mid-30s or so, and they had a child. It was a domestic violence situation, and she was one of the first people to teach me about this act of forgiveness, because as hard as it was, for the sake of her granddaughter, she knew she had to forgive this man in some way for killing her daughter. And it's the same kind of thing that Ulrich Dupree was doing. She was like, what was going on in his life that was so bad that led him to do something so awful? Forgiveness does not mean that you condone the behavior. So she was able to, you know, say, I see where you're coming from. What you did is awful, and I don't know if I can get over it, but, you know, I'm sorry for you that you did this, basically. And that's kind of what Ulrich Dupree was doing. So over the course of the couple of years that he worked at this facility, people started to get better. He never met with them. He was doing this every day, deep concentration, 6, 7, 8 hours a day, focusing on these people without even knowing what they looked like or who they were. And gradually the behavior in the place kind of leveled out. People weren't so violent. People were more polite. Pretty soon they were able to hire more nurses and orderlies to work in the place. And pretty soon people were getting better and better. And at the end of a couple of years, they closed the place because everyone was well enough to be discharged. That is the power of intention. That is the power of prayer. That is the power of Ho'oponopono. So when you see things, like I know my sister posted something about this person at a vet clinic, and somebody posted something that went viral that was really mean. You know, there's several options you have to combat that. You can get all the clients that love you to repost and say nice things, which is good, because anytime you meet anger with anger, you just get more anger. So you have to find that place in your heart where you can generate love out of anger and fear. And people forget, we're also afraid right now. What is the opposite of fear? Love. And I used to have a bumper sticker on my car that said, love is greater than fear. And everybody thought my car was Bernie's when I went to his meetings, because I had the love is greater than fear sticker on my car. It was just a little thing. I think I have one left, and I'm not putting it on any cars. It's on my refrigerator, actually. But hold on with a Corgi magnet, I'm sure. But love is what is opposite of fear. So with this anger coming at this person, she needs to meet that anger with love. So she's got to find the people that love her to reach out and tell the world that. And she needs to try to find a way herself to be calm and to admit the loving, wonderful person that she is. Now, this is so hard when somebody attacks you. We've all been there. We've been attacked, you know, in high school, in jobs, on media. It is one of the hardest things we have to face, really. But using the power of Ho'oponopono can really help you, and it's spelled just like it sounds, Ho'oponopono, with some spaces in it. And you can get this book on Amazon. It's like $5.99. It's the best $5 you'll spend. So the beginning of that is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry this happened. You know, I'm sorry that this situation occurred. I'm sorry that someone sent me this horrible thing on Facebook. Please forgive me. Not forgive you. Please forgive me for the parts of me that could have fed into this, or something that I did or said that somebody misunderstood, or for, you know, any time in my life that I felt so angry at someone that I could have acted like you. That's the part of this that's really different. Please forgive me. I love you. So you're emitting love to the person that has wronged you, or to the situation that has wronged you. And that takes tremendous inner strength. And you can only find that through living through things like what we're going through right now, people losing their jobs, people having no income, people being trapped in their homes, people being in situations where they're being pulled in 50 directions, people having to do jobs that are just extremely, you know, thousands of times more difficult than they were, working in healthcare, working in groceries, working in, you know, even trash pickup, working at food pantries. All this work is so much harder than it used to be. So, you know, you have to admit that I love you. And then the last part of the Ho'oponopono is thank you. Thank you for bringing this to my attention. Thank you for the opportunity that this has given me. Thank you for the virus creating a situation where we're listening to each other in ways we never did before, where we're finding new ways of doing things, where we're connecting with our families, where we're having family game nights. Nobody's done that since 1965. Where we're, watching things on TV, maybe listening to music, maybe we're picking up a journal, maybe we're reading the 15 books we have in our house instead of, going to the movies. So thank you for these new opportunities, and I've mentioned this many times at one of Bernie's groups with 27 people there who had all had cancer, some still ongoing, and he said, if you had the chance to not have cancer in this life, how many of you would choose that? No one raised their hands. Every person had a reason why cancer had come into their life, a wake-up call it had given them, some enriching experiences. One guy who's had cancer for many years, been on like 6 different clinical trials, had suddenly had time to see his little 6-year-old child and spend time with him in a way he never would have. And he collected antique cars, and he loved to dress up in the period of the car with his little son and drive around and go get ice cream and talk to people about the car. He never would have done that if he had stayed in his high-powered job. So thank you. Every experience is something we should be grateful for. Every bad thing that happens has something good out on the other side. And when you're in the middle of it, it seems impossible. But that's why we have this book, Ho'oponopono, to think of, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. Because that's what this virus is giving us. I am sorry for all the many people that have died and the many, many people that have not been able to have funerals or be with their loved ones when they're passing, and for all the stress that people have had to undergo in their jobs or in their homes. And please forgive me, that I need to go to the grocery store for these things that I can't live without, and that I might need the health care, and I need trash pickup, and any role I've had in this. Maybe I was irresponsibly going around when I could have been sick and I didn't know it. And I love you. That sense of, emitting love into the world, it's so difficult to do when things are stressful. And to stay grounded in yourself, our pets really help us with that. But to fight back with love. And then thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. Everything in our lives is a chance to learn. And one of the things that Bisky, our pets really do connect us with love, and it's really hard to find that. And aside from the love is greater than fear bumper sticker, and that love conquers fear and is the opposite of fear, is the other idea that love is really all that we have here that's really of great value. And all of us are capable of giving and receiving love, and taking time to bring that into your life is so important. And our animals remind us of that every day. Right, Biscuit? Oh, he loves to play squeakies. That's his favorite thing. So, there's something else I wanted to say about that, and I can't remember it. So remember Ho'oponopono and the lessons of Ulrich Dupree. His story is so compelling, and it's just unbelievable. It's just really unbelievable that meditating on these people's charts and never even meeting them would bring about so much healing, but it is the power of intention. So think about, I am sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. Because these are the 4 phrases that can bring us peace in a world where there is lots of things that seem unpeaceful right now. So thanks for joining us for this episode of Conversations with a Corgi. We've got the yard work done, so we'll be back again tomorrow, hopefully closer to 9:30. I had to have a little chat with a utility worker out front this morning because the person that hit my pole apparently did some damage to it. And now they're looking at repairing it in a new and more exciting way. So he was here to spray paint where all the lines come and go from the pole to my house. So I had to chat with him and let him know where those were. Thanks for joining us. Everybody have a good day. Remember to think about love. Oh, no, I was just going to say, Bernie Siegel used to talk about, people think about battling cancer, battling this disease, lost their battle with blah, 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 And he had a Quaker patient once who said, you know what, I'm not a fighter. I'm a Quaker, I'm a pacifist. It's been in my whole life to be a pacifist. And so when Bernie asked him to draw a picture of his immune system fighting cancer, he drew these cute little stick people carrying out little circles with an unhappy face out of his body and stacking them in a pile in another place where they could be that was not with him. So this idea of fighting coronavirus, you know, it's something that's kind of part of the American psyche, because that's how America ended up here, was fighting back. But there is a way to be at peace with the way things are and fight it in a different way, and that's with the use of Ho'oponopono and thinking of things as not necessarily as a battle, but more as a shift. So think about, I am sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and thank you. And go forth today and bring peace and love into the world. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.